That sounds like a good plan. Yeah. Okay then. Okay, everybody, we're gonna do the Etruscans today. Welcome to my Thursday morning session. And we've got to. I can't go beyond 12 today because I've got to. I've got a roundhouse to get up. So right, first things first. First things first. Goff, have you got any questions?
Well, I heard on the news an hour ago that a farmer had found a Roman mosaic on his farm in Rutland, and it depicts the scene from Homer's Iliad, and it's the first ever to be found in the UK ever.
Ever. Right. So we've got ever. Do you know what? Those that want to join my Wednesday afternoon class at 1:30 as a complimentary class online, sign in next week at 1:30 and we will cover that. Right? I won't charge you, Goff, right? I'll just charge everybody else in Lantern. Well, you right, deal. Anyway. Oh, shut up. Don't know you anything. Right, no, anyway, that's good. Rutland, you say, Goff. That's great. Thanks for that. Anything else you want to say, Goff?
No.
Okay. Henri, my French guy from Bridgend, anything you want to say?
Yes, I heard that there was a farmer in Rutland who planted some Roman material so he could get his field dug over for free.
Yeah, but no, that's true. That's true. But it doesn't demean the fact that a mosaic was found. Just because it's brought in from somewhere else, it's still a Roman mosaic.
No, that's it.
Do you know, talking about things, did you know a new series of Detectorists is on its way?
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I enjoyed Detectorists.
Yeah.
It in the last series, it portrayed how bent archaeologists are, and it was great.
Actually,
right, so what else have we got?
There was the girl up in Northumberland who, on a second trip out with a metal detector, found the Bronze Age hoard of axe heads.
Amazing.
That is amazing. And you know what they always say? Once is never enough.
Yep.
Yes. Oh no, that's brilliant. Thanks for that. So we've got delights today. Wow, delights. Andrea.
No.
What any news from your knocking shop this week?
Obviously, no, not here.
You're not here. What? Are you there?
No... Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Whoa, we're halfway there. Right, okay, that's good. You can tell I got an audience this week, Goff. Unfortunately, Goff, I'm not wandering up the road to teaching the Antarctic class. That's a shame. I'm not being attacked by goats. And I'm not turning up 2 hours late. The usual excuses don't work this week. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to find out who's with Karen. Right, so Karen, who have you got with you this week? Karen, who have you got with you this week?
We have got Arnold, Lynn, Chris, Jim, Keith, Kathy, and Steve.
Kathy and Steve. Right. So Karen, Arnold, Lynn, Chris, Jim, Keith, Kathy, and Steve. It sounds like the lineup for the new Beatles. I think Steve will be the lead singer, and Kathy will be the one who resigns from the group to go off with Yoko Ono. And as for a drummer, I think Lynn would make a good drummer because she's quiet and she sits in the corner, so she'll be a good Ringo Starr. And all we got to do now is find a George. Arnold, you'll be a good George Harrison. Job done. And Jim can be the annoying one that is just in the background. Right. So what I need to know quickly is, because we're on a schedule. Karen, is there any news?
Anybody got any news?
Well, it's been mentioned.
No, only in the papers.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the.
Do you want to say something? Goff? Yeah, Keith Harvey.
Is that what Goff was mentioning earlier?
Oh, go, bring it up. Let's show it on the screen. Let's
Higher.
somebody speak. Bring it up.
Higher.
Up.
Higher.
Like a gold.
Left of it, right of it.
Fire.
Is that what you were on about, Goff?
I can't see anything.
Iliad mosaic, the most important find of the century.
Oh wow, another one.
A
Ever.
Roman mosaic unearthed in a farmer's field, been hailed as one of the most exciting discoveries in Britain in the past century.
Ever.
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 Oh, the thing is,
Yeah, it's a Rutland villa. The find located
yeah, that's the one.
in a
That's the one.
1700-year-old villa in Rutland. Yeah.
well, we were talking about me being the Gauleiter of archaeology, so you can salute me if you want. There's a joke there, but you know, if nobody else has got anything else to say in your neck of the woods, we're going to get straight down to the underpants and we're going to get moving, right? So I'm just going to make sure that. What's that, Goff?
No, I didn't say anything, but I was going to say, if I get the opportunity during the break to speak to Karen about the Christmas lunch.
All right. Okay.
Oh no, ask her now. Go for it.
Okay. What's the arrangements, Karen?
Okay. It's the Thursday, the 16th of December.
Yeah.
At Iltid's 216, and it's booked for 1:15. So you can either meet us there or come to Bethel Hall, and then we'll all walk up together.
Oh, I know the way.
Having our class first.
Yeah. That's it, is it? I can book the meal there and pay
Oh,
appropriately.
sorry, no. I need your menu choices.
That's easy.
And the deposit.
No,
I'll tell you now.
Not the
He's going to
deposit.
tell you now, Karen.
Do we do menu choices?
Right,
No.
do the menu choices now. Go on. He wants a bit of sausage next.
Yeah, I've actually got the menu with me. I can't remember what the choices are.
You could go on the internet and look at their website and see the Christmas dinner menu.
Karen?
No, Goff already knows.
Oh, you know, right? Okay. What do you want then?
Soup, turkey lunch, and pudding.
Soup. Oh, okay. Try the Christmas dinner then. Soup, turkey, and the Christmas pudding. Right. Okay.
Do we know anyone who's got a big fat turkey?
No, you're not to make any turkey jokes. Carl doesn't like it.
You're not meant to make any turkey jokes. Thank you very much.
And Karen, do we pay there?
Sorry?
Do we pay at the restaurant?
Yeah. The balance of the meal. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Wonderful.
goodness for that. Right. Okay. So right, we are going to get started. Anyone who's got any problems with any of the technology, whether they can't hear me or something like that, they need to let me know. I do believe that I'm coming across loud and clear, which is good.
No, you're not very
And
loud.
I'm just getting this up on the screen now. So we'll just show you a first image. And we'll just put this up there. Bingo. Right. Okay, then what we're going to do, I'm going to mute the guys in Lanswick Major because we've got limited bandwidth. But I do believe, Andrea, you're my anchor today, okay?
Oh, God. God help us.
So, Andrea, if you can't hear me, you're my Obenführer. Good.
Oh.
So what I'd like to do is start off with a subject that I've got a lot of passion for, and it's a subject that I don't visit very often, and I haven't visited the Etruscans for a very, very long time. And I do believe, Andrea, you've got an image in front of you. Is that correct?
Correct. One arrow pointing
Right.
at red.
Andrea's got problems with the bandwidth. What about you, Goff? Have you got an image in front of you, Goff?
Yeah, so's Karen, I think. No, I'm Andrea.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, your bandwidth is really bad. It's just as long as right. If you can't hear me throughout any of this lecture, you need to let me know. Okay, you just need to jump in and say I can't hear you. Right, brilliant. Okay, so we're looking at the Etruscans today, and you've got an image in front of you, which might just be a very mundane image, and we'll come on to that image in a short while. Very, very recently, one of the things in regards to the Etruscans is looking at their origins. And there's a big debate over who the Etruscans were, where they come from. Were they actually from northwestern Europe? Were they actually from France? Were they actually from Italy itself, Tuscany itself, north of Rome? Were they actually from Greece? Were they actually from the Middle East? Who were the Etruscans and what they've been trying to do desperately? And this was reported on the late September 2021, a new study which was published on the 27th of September 2021, offers evidence to support the theory of local origins for the Etruscans. Local. They were a very, very advanced people, an Iron Age people in central Italy. Now, when you use the word Iron Age, you think about people banding around axes and flint arrowheads and all the rest of it. But these wonderful people living in central Italy had their own writing. They had a very advanced form of art. They were great workers in bronze. Their burial tradition is second to none. What they offered us in regards to civilization as civilization rolled out is very different than the civilization of their counterparts, the Romans. And it could be controversially said that the origins of the Romans are in fact the Etruscans. So what they've been doing very recently, we've got this big thing for DNA, haven't we? DNA study solves the riddle. And what they've been doing is looking around central and southern Italy. The remains of just over 80 sets of human beings, skeletal remains, over 80 sets of skeletal remains. So to examine the DNA, to work out a genome sequencing. The Etruscan civilization itself, it said it brought a different light to Italy, Tuscany. When I say brought a different light, the evolution of the Etruscans brought a flourishing of a civilization that was civilized. It wasn't always warring like the ancient Greeks or the Persians or the Romans, or for that matter, the Carthaginians. These were the people that were seemingly swept away in history. They were swept by the Romans. The Romans absolutely hated, they gutturally hated the Etruscans. They really, really hated them. They wanted to erase them from history. But then again, if you're trying to erase your origins, you're going to erase the Etruscans, aren't you? The Etruscans themselves, as we will examine if we get to it, were rich in mineral resources. Its trading prowess was second to none. They were like the Phoenicians before them. The Phoenicians coming around 1000 beyond 1000 years BC, and then you've got the Etruscans coming to their height around 900, 800 years BC, and these were a people that weren't assimilated by the Romans. They were wiped out by the Romans, some authors say. In fact, they were so annihilated and wiped out by the Romans that anything that they created was seemingly destroyed. But that's not exactly the fact. What is above is below. So what we do find with the Etruscans is all below the ground. What they created in their homes was replicated down below because they lived as they remembered. And this is one of the things that I'll be bringing to those that do my classes, and obviously Jessica's classes in the new year, when we look at the wonders of prehistory in Britain, and then we look a little bit of prehistory around the world as well. So that's not completely going away. The sprawling necropoli of tombs decorated with magnificent wall painted, delicately carved sarcophagi, intricate metalwork. And I promised everybody on Tuesday not to go off on a complete tangent and talk about Etruscan art and architecture. But I bowed down to going so far that I ended up doing a 2-hour lecture just looking at their art. And I need to look more about their origins. But if I do digress, then I'm not going to apologize. So, in many ways, the Romans may have wiped out the Etruscans, or did they assimilate? But if they wiped out the Etruscans, they nicked, as the Romans did, their ways of clothing, their ways of religious practice, lighter, more gentle ways of religious practice that we see Christianity today. But this has nothing to do with Christianity. But what I'm trying to do as a metaphor, their religious practices were a lot more lighter than the Romans, but the Romans copied from them. The architecture of the Etruscans was basically raped and pillaged by the Romans, like the Romans would take from the Greeks their way of poetry, their way of building suspended baths. They would take away some of the gods from the likes of the people in Asia Minor. They would take away the senses of water storage and systems from the Nabateans and the Greeks with their agriculture, and the Romans would then take the ways of the navy from the Carthaginians. The Romans did the same to the Etruscans. When we use the word Pax Romana, this was not Pax Romana, Roman peace. This was Roman annihilation. So we keep going to that, but and they progressed in the field of metallurgy that was second to none. Their metallurgical skills and their firing of terracotta was bellissimo, was out there on the edge of sophistication and reality. You look at the Etruscan world and it echoes a world is no longer in disappearance, is a world with us. You look at Etruscan art and it drags you in, it calls you in with that hand of the tomb of the couple, and she drags you in to be within the moment of the Etruscan world. The Etruscans are still with us. They breathe. They didn't want to go away. The Romans didn't annihilate them. Their tombs allow us into the grandeur of a world that's still with us below the surface. Are these contemporaries of the Greeks and the Romans, or did they influence the Greeks? People argue that the Etruscans took from the Greeks and then the Romans took from the Etruscans. I believe that the Etruscans stand alone. The evidence of everything that we know about their ways of life come from some of their writing, some of their carved writing, some of their written writing. On linen, for example, there's an interesting case where some writing was placed on linen and used by a pharaonic individual in around the 300s. So what they did, they had linen which had been written on as a scroll by an Etruscan, and then that was unraveled and placed around a mummy. So the Etruscan linen has survived around a Ptolemaic burial from the 300s. So we've got all these wonderful little things, but they're not little. We know about their world from the underground, from their banquet scenes and their social gatherings. And interesting enough, it always amazes me that the greatest civilizations, the civilizations that have equality between men and women, like the Olmecs in Central America a few generations after these people, there was social equality. And that is what's so important about these Etruscans. They saw that women had a role in society. The Romans did not see women having a role in society. Women were seen to be the equals of men as they stood in banquets, the equals of men. And when women are equal to men, it offers a new grandeur into this world. And what I'm going to do is show you the tomb of the leopard. I'm just going to show you this image, and I'm going to allow this article that I got on my screen. This lecture starts off, this presentation starts off with lots of snippets, and then we look at lots of the images that take me into tangents, and I'm just going to try and keep with these. these press cuttings. So if we share this on the screen, the stone in front of you was found very, very recently with some carvings associated with a goddess known as Uni. So what I would like to do is just scroll through this. And this is hopefully going to annoy Kathy, where she hates me showing text on the screen and me reading from it. But this is a tomb of the leopards. You can actually gain a glimpse into this tomb as above, as down below, as below is above. There was no sense of deep death and mortality in this world. You would visit your loved ones and you'd be part of your loved ones' lives in the underground, not the underworld, the underground. There's no underworld in regards to Etruscans. There's no world of the ancient Egyptians in regards to these people. These stand alone. These stand alone. I don't know if Jessica mentioned it when we did the Hebridean lectures a couple of weeks ago, and that put us into another direction. We looked at the mummified remains at karl-james on the island of South Uist in the Hebrides, and I had people rebelling. I had 11 members of my class on a Tuesday evening. They all rebelled. They said, "Look, we love your lectures, Carl, but now we want to come home and we want to look at all the prehistory." And I said, "Okay, yeah." And they would, and this is why we're doing all that prehistoric stuff. And because I was saying that these mummies were those mummies that you would ask questions. You know, don't tell me that you don't. But most of us talk to our relatives. We think, "Oh my God, Mum, what would you have done in this situation?" Or a long lost grandmother, "What would you have done? Please tell me." But these people had their loved ones in their homes mummified in regards to karl-james 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago. But when you look at the Etruscans, you would look at beautiful ornate carvings of their loved ones in these wonderful tombs under the surface. You would see the terracotta imbued with life down underneath the surface. You would see stone carvings of your loved ones, and you'd sit alongside them. You'd say, "Look, Mum, what do you think about this? Do you like my new baby?" And maybe Dad would be there as a carving, as a lifelike carving, and say, "Hang on a minute, you know, you're asking Mum this question." And this is the way the Etruscans were. They never saw an end to life. It was always continuous, and they allowed that to happen. While the Etruscans did leave some historical records in the form of epitaphs and inscriptions, as we've got there, most of their texts were destroyed by the conquering Romans. And what we're going to do, we're going to just go through my slides now, and we're just going to zip through quickly. And we're going to, as I'm talking about some of their inscriptions, you need inscriptions in front of you. So let's just bandy through these ones. There you go. Wonderful inscriptions there on the screen. So we've got that. Now you can look at some of these inscriptions whilst I speak. So, you know, most of the epitaphs and inscriptions above ground level were destroyed by the Romans. They were destroyed. So are we talking about assimilation or complete wipeout? The problem with understanding even whatever records survive, the Romans, it's been very difficult to actually translate what has survived. The Etruscan alphabet derived from the Greek one, but they spoke a language that was most likely not Indo-European. So you've got this alphabet that is very different from most languages in Europe, which are Indo-European. Therefore, much of what is known about them comes from the writings of ancient Greeks and Roman historians. And guess what? The Greeks didn't like the Etruscans, and the Romans described the Etruscans as barbarians on the edge of hell, savages of the north, savages the same as the Gauls. The word Etruscan comes from Etruria, the name given by the Romans to the area. So the name that we see the Etruscans calling themselves is not the name that the Romans gave them, right? So we see this in many contexts. For example, the fictitious name Silures and the Demeter of West Wales are names that were postulated and given to the people, were not the names that the people actually called themselves. Given the history of the bitter conflict between the Etruscans and the Roman accounts are bound to have been biased. The Etruscans did not want to fight the Romans. They did not want a war with the Romans. The Etruscans are to be said to be a peace-loving people. They didn't have those massive armies and mantles of destruction that the Romans had. One of the first theories about Etruscan origins floated by Herodotus, the father of history himself, who was a Greek. Herodotus, writing in 450 odd, said that the Etruscans were actually migrants from Anatolia, Turkey, sent out by the king of Lydia in Western Anatolia following a major famine. That would be interesting because the Greeks fought the Lydians and the Lydians fought the Greeks. And so therefore it might be that could be the case, or is it? So it's looking at the DNA, and there is some evidence to support these Greek Anatolian origins in the form of their use of the Greek alphabet, and some Eastern influence is in their art, like slanted eyes and braided hair. But the Etruscans, being well-traveled people, would have been influenced by all these things, imbued by the bodies of the experiences of those that floated and bobbed around the Mediterranean. So this, this might not be that they came from Anatolia. It might actually be that they borrowed some of these things, and they didn't need to conquer these worlds like the Romans to take them either. All good civilizations are cosmopolitan civilizations. I would argue that Britain is a good cosmopolitan civilization, even though there's all this racism out there that we're told. I don't believe any of it. We're a very good cosmopolitan nation that is out there, that we've borrowed bits from our empire. We've borrowed bits from Jamaica. We've borrowed bits from Ireland, and we've borrowed bits from Europe. This is a good cosmopolitan nation, but we still see ourselves as British, whatever color skin we are. And the point is, this is in many ways what the Etruscans were. They still had that sense of representation. They still had that sense of local DNA with all these external influences. On the other hand, another ancient scholar says, a writer known as Dionysius, not the goddess Dionysus, but Dionysius, who's writing just before the birth of Christ, believed that the Etruscans, amazingly enough, had local origin. So it's looking at the DNA. This latter view has found greater favor among modern historians. And it's that idea that people were responsible for their development. Instead of being diffused from a place of origin, i.e. Greece, they determined their way they would go forward. And why not? Why do we need the ancient Greeks and the Romans to give us direction? Why do we always look towards the ancient Egyptians and the Persians to actually tell us who we are? Why do we need to be evolved from them, or devolved from them more than ever? But the fact of the matter is, the Etruscans determined where they were going to go, like we would have determined where we were going to go if the Romans hadn't invaded us. What we'd have done, that's the same thing. The Romans had never invaded Britain. We had developed our own towns anyway. We didn't need their fictitious roads either. So, but the fact of the matter is, we would have determined our own way anyway. We would have traded with the Romans. We would have started to have developed some kind of street sanitation. We would have developed the arrangements of our towns and cities if the Romans hadn't invaded. And we may have been a stronger people to have stopped the likes of waves of Anglo-Saxons and Franks, and then other waves of people from Scandinavia coming over anyway. To complicate matters, however, genetic studies of modern people from Tuscany in the 2010s found that almost 17% of the genetic material had a Near East ancestry. This seemed to lend weight to Herodotus' theory about the origins of the Etruscans. However, we already know the answer, so who is right? The new study shows that the Near East component of modern Tuscany genes came long after the Etruscan civilization fell to the Romans. So in other words, those people settled in the gap where the Etruscans were actually either befell the Roman sword or tried to assimilate. So in other words, that 17% of DNA has come after the Etruscan civilization has fallen. And to be honest with you, we're going to see 10% of DNA across Germany after the fall of Germany in the Second World War, because of the number of rapes that occurred on German women at the hands of the Russian army that was occupying Germany. And that has changed the DNA pool of the Germans, sadly. The gene pool of the ancient Etruscans remained fairly stable over 800 years. A people that was eventually conquered by the Romans. And then obviously there was that sense of assimilation. And obviously slaves and Romans, and obviously the indomitable nature of the Romans would have changed the DNA of the Etruscans anyway. This huge genetic shift in imperial times transforms Italians from a people firmly within the genetic cloud of Europe into a genetic bubble of people, a bridge from the Mediterranean and the Near East. So again, a cosmopolitan DNA for the Etruscans, but not telling us about the origins of the Etruscans. Scientists collected genetic information from 12 archaeological sites, spanning a period of 2,000 years, and nearly 80 odd individuals' remains were studied. Over half were Etruscan and were seen to share the genetic profile of the Latins living in the nearby area of Rome. So in other words, out of those burials, 50% of those Etruscans showed local genes. 50%. Their genes were in fact seen to be a more or less equal mix of localized Neolithic and Bronze Age peoples that had occupied Europe from many, many generations before. So they had to be seen to be local in their DNA from Italy, as local can get. So obviously what we're trying to say is that at a stage, as people move in and they're there for a long time, they're seen to be that local gene pool. And then you've got other waves of people coming in to change and alter the nature of the DNA of these Etruscans. I've got a beautiful image in front of me, and how dare I not show you this? And I'm going into my tangent. I do apologize. This is, I tell you what, look at that. You know, that is very special. It's an Etruscan terracotta figure of a young woman from around 300 years BC, 150 odd years before Rome gets its might within the Etruscan world. Look at that beautiful hair. Look at those beautiful eyes. A look at the way her folds of her body perform, and even the nipples showing there as a portrayal of the wealth of this woman. And you've got the clothing, you've got the way the decoration is around her neck. This is a pure beauty, and this is an Etruscan woman. This is what a real Etruscan woman looks like. The marvels of the Etruscans and what they were able to produce in terracotta. What the world would have been like without the Romans is that great debate. What the world would have been like if the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Etruscans, the Lydians, and everyone else could have melded together. What the world would have been like with the offspring of Hannibal instead of Rome. A very different world. But unfortunately, we can't always look at the past and think this should have happened or it shouldn't have happened. This, of course, doesn't answer all the questions and mysteries that shroud the Etruscan civilization. Most interestingly is the question of language. Given that the Eurasian pastoralists are believed to have been responsible for the spread of most of the Indo-European languages, as these Etruscans are seen to be localized people, why didn't they have this Indo-European language? Why were they so different? But why not? Why can't they be so different? How the Etruscans retained the non-Indo-European language remains a mystery that will require further archaeological, historical, and linguistic studies to resolve. But one thing is the Etruscans do stand alone still, and why not? The linguistic persistence combined with the genetic turnover challenges simple assumptions that genes equal languages and suggest a more complex scenario that may have involved the assimilation of early Italian speakers by the Etruscan speech community, possibly during a prolonged period of admixture over the period of years before the birth of Christ. So I wanted to share that with you as if it was like you're just reading about the Etruscans for the first time. Let's note on the next article of the week. No, I'm not cheating today. This is the best way of doing the Etruscans because if I just look at images, I'm going to find myself just looking at the images and saying how beautiful these figures are. This is another little article about the Etruscans as well. Etruscan discoveries at the necropolis of the pub. So you're reading this for the first time and you're thinking, whoa, wow, Etruscans, pubs, wow, what's all this about? What does that actually mean? Is it a metaphor for something? So here we go. So for the last 3 years, Italian archaeologists, and I think this is going back to 2015, I think, have been excavating a large Etruscan necropolis at the site of Volchia, 75 miles from Rome. The necropolis of Del Osteria, on the necropolis of the pub. The large cemetery's most spectacular burial has been dubbed the Tomb of the Silver Hands. After the discovery of a pair of silver hands once adorned a wooden dummy. But the team has also uncovered dozens of other tombs containing remains and grave goods belonging to Etruscan nobles and common folk alike who lived in this region of Italy more than 2,500 years ago. Below is a selection of some of the most interesting artifacts from the site, which we'll go on to. There it is. Right, we'll just quickly mention that text at the bottom and we'll just scroll through. There's some of the burials, right? Excellent. The Romans didn't wipe all this away. Good, go away. Among the many tombs in the necropolis, the team also found a small rectangular altar that once held a jar containing cremated remains and impressive tomb filled with artifacts, including a pair of silver hands that likely belonged to an Etruscan noble family. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, don't know if we got the image of the silver hands, but look at that. Amazing. That's wow. Another wealthy tomb excavated in 2012 near the Tomb of the Silver Hands contained this spectacular stone figure of a sphinx. How dare the Etruscans have sphinxes? They're even borrowing a little bit from the Persian world and ancient Egypt. A mixture of ancient Egyptian and Persian architecture there. Great, love it. Sorry, we're scrolling. Look at that there. This is known as the Tomb of the Sphinx, the same one we just seen there with the Tomb of the Sphinx, and so rightly named near the Tomb of the Silver Hands. Also contained a blue faience scarab dating from sometime to the 25th or 26th dynasty, which would have been contemporary with the Etruscan world. The Etruscans would have been having this sense of massive intercourse with the Egyptians. It's likely that still that their trade goods was copper going to Egypt, and they may have had the bounty of grain coming back the other way. Maybe, we don't know, but that's the way. The point is that let's examine out this sort of the world of the Carthaginians and the Lydians and the post-Phoenicians and the Greeks and the Etruscans, and let's chuck a couple of those Gauls in there as well, and the Egyptians, all that together. What a world the Mediterranean would have been like, but it was all swept away by the Romans. The Etruscans were particularly fond of Egyptian objects, and aren't we all, many of which are found in tombs in this and other Etruscan localities. Along with the tombs belonging to Etruscan nobility, archaeologists also found small family tombs, like this one in the necropolis, containing at least one and possibly several pottery jars in which the deceased cremated remains were buried. Not always do we see great epitaphs to your loved ones under the ground that you can visit, and looking at the wear of the steps that led down to the people that are still with us in a life that is down below the surface. The communicative nature of your being is to be in awe in regards to the Etruscan world. Look at that there. Wow! Many of the artifacts, such as this painted terracotta architectural element from a well-decorated tomb in the necropolis, have been taken to a nearby lab to be reassembled, if possible, and considered. Look at that architecture. My God, the Etruscans eat your heart out. Do you know what? I haven't pressed on this link, so I'm going to press on this link, and if it doesn't go anywhere, I want to see these silver hands. We all want to see these silver hands. Where's these silver hands? Come on, come on, come on. Oh my God, we don't have an image of the silver hands. Do you know what? You know what? The one there's the tomb, right? And what we're going to do, I'm going to type in your silver hands Etruscan. Yeah, I just want to see these silver hands. I've not actually seen. I have seen these silver hands, and just want to see if I can find an image on you, right? But as we're waiting for this image to load up, if we do get it, what we'll do, we'll go on to the next bit, and we'll just see if this zooms up. And lots of what I'm trying to do with the Etruscans today is to give you an overview. Like we're thinking about this sort of overview of prehistory that we're going to be doing in the new year, and looking at that. Oh, there's the silver hands. There they are. Don't they look great? Oh my God, they look fab. Oh wow. I've just lost the image now. How dare I? But look at the silver hands there. They're great, isn't it? Wow. Look at that. Sort of, I don't know, silver hands. The man with silver hands. Great. This is in a burial context. Look at all that there. Look at these images there up there about the silver hands. See if I could get a bigger image. Whilst we're waiting for that, right, I'm gonna see if I can get some more bandwidth so we can read that ourselves. Long buried evidence of an Etruscan tomb. You can get that online. That's great. That's fine. And let's see what else we've got here. Okay, another article of the week before I go on to my images. Hopefully, this is a find from 2015. Again, another article of the week. Yes. And right, here we go. I'm waiting to be called for I'm a Celebrity, so don't worry about it. Another one. There's lots of videos. This is one of the things. The idea headline again: undisturbed tomb in Italy. Right, finding an undisturbed tomb in Italy is again. This is. I'm not gonna show that image on there. I'm just gonna allow you to sort of go onto the internet and look at these links. But again, look at that, an intact 2,300-year-old Etruscan tomb recently discovered in Italy may help shed light on an ancient civilization that flourished. This is Perugia. And again, they're finding all these things. A worker had been ploughing the field above the tomb in October when the machine jammed, leading to the most spectacular find in archaeology ever, according to Italian news outlet, which says the tomb is at the end of a corridor 40 feet deep. So, blimmin' hell, no wonder the Romans didn't loot this one and destroy it. It's still there. It was a totally unexpected discovery. The area is away from the sites visited by tomb robbers, and indeed the burial is undisturbed. She said one of the sarcophagi has the name Laris on it. Eat your heart out. Again, the other also contains an inscription, but was damaged apparently long ago. And I'm not going to say that is actually from that. I think that is actually from that burial context. So again, when you're having that discourse, that conversation, that lovely look and excellent, but we will talk about these contexts in another these statues in another context. A marble head found in the tomb had been broken off at the neck. It portrays the beautiful face of a young man. We do not know yet its meaning. Perhaps it was part of a statue that honored one of the deceased. We need to see these, but we will be seeing some of them. The Etruscans have long been considered enigmatic by historians, but we are now starting to understand them. But we've got these discoveries being found all the time. So we're going to knock that one off there. I'm going to see if we got these silver hands, which are, no, a big image of the silver hands hasn't come across, but there you go. They've got the, oh, there we go. The silver hands there coming up. Love it. Love it. And so what we're going to do now, I'm just going to, and this as well. I remember sharing this when this came out in one of my classes. Intact Royal Etruscan tomb opened in Italy. Love it. And this would have been decorated and painted. Turin Etruscan tomb has been discovered in Tarquinia, and Tarquinia, Tarquinia is the place where the tomb of the leopards is also to be found. 50 miles northwest of Rome, jars, vases, and a greater, perhaps used in a funerary rite, were found in front of the stone slab that sealed the rock-cut tomb 2,600 years ago. Most tombs were left open for people to visit. This one happened to be sealed. And his tomb removed the stone slab. They found the skeleton of an individual, a spear resting on a stone bed in the vaulted chamber. Brooches on his chest, statues of Lloyd George indicated that he had been wearing a mantle. A bronze dish containing the remains of a meal and a large bronze basin sat at his feet. Other items in the tomb included small vases the small vase that had been hanging on the wall and large Greek Corinthian vases on the floor. It's a unique discovery, and it is extremely rare to find in inviolated Etruscan tomb of an upper class individual. It opens up huge opportunities on the Etruscans. There we go. So what we're going to do now, I wanted to go back to that first image that we actually showed, right? The one of the stone. So let's sort of bang these images back to where we were at the beginning. And a partridge in a pear tree. Oh, look at this stuff. I don't know if I got time to go through all this. I do promise you, Henry, that we will go through some of this before we end, right? So this wonderful slab, right? You can basically make out that there's some carvings there, right? Very faint carvings, right? And what we're going to do, that's the land of the Etruscans. If we've got any idea, I wanted to do this as sort of a little bit of an enigmatic thing. I don't know where the Etruscans are. He keeps telling us about us. I want to know more, and hopefully I'm doing that. So basically, what we've got is, as this slab is starting to come to light in the mud that it's being excavated, what we've got, and as I go over to my text. And again, this is hang on, just show this to give you a better idea. You can see the carvings. You can see the carvings down there, down at the bottom along this edge here, and you can see the other carvings coming into view there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that slab speak, and I'm just going to look at my notes, and I'm going to oh, hang on a minute, I'm going to go back again. Sorry, it's come up in larger, right? A larger frame. Look at that. Doesn't that look, you get that sense? It looks even Ogham like, not Ogham like, God, not Ogham, runic like, but it is based on an ancient Egyptian form of text. So I'm just going to go back to there. It's so here we go. Hang on a minute. Let's just move that forward so I can read out my text on this another article. This was reported in August 24th, 2016. That would be the same year, 79 AD, with the eruption of anniversary of Vesuvius going up. One of the most significant finds ever of an Etruscan tomb in an Etruscan context, not found associated with the female goddess Uni. Archaeologists translating a very rare inscription on an ancient Etruscan temple, a stone, have discovered the name Uni. Again, not a tomb, a temple. Sorry. The discovery indicates that Uni, a divinity of fertility and possibly a mother goddess, a bit like Cathy, at this particular place, may have been the titular deity worshipped at the sanctuary of Pogoya, Kolya, a key settlement within the Etruscan civilized world. Let's not think of them as Iron Age. Let's just think of these as on the edge of greatness, like myself, being an eminent archaeologist. The mention is part of a sacred text that is possibly the longest such Etruscan inscription, not in sort of a linen form, but actually in inscribes a form on a stone to be found. Scientists on the research discovery at Pogoya, Kola, where many Etruscan objects have been found, believe that they found evidence of a temple cult, and they've also found a ceramic fragment which portrays the earliest birth scene in European art. Eat your heart out. That object reinforces the interpretation of fertility cult within the Etruscan world. The stone itself in front of us, 500-pound slab, called a steelite. It's very rare to find these stone slabs associated with the god or goddess within a temple context. The location of its discovery, a place where prestigious offerings were made, and the possible presence in the inscription of the name Uni, U-N-I, as well as the care of the draft in the text, which brings to mind the work of a stone carver who faithfully followed a model transmitted to him from an educated scribe. It is also possible that it expresses the laws of the sanctuary, a series of prescriptions relating to ceremonies. You've got to do this, you've got to do this with the altar, and you need to project yourself to the altar in this way, that type of thing. And trying to look at this text, 120 characters, is on the backdrop of really trying to relearn a written language that is very difficult to transcribe, but they do get there. They do work these things out. Etruscan grammar works in a slightly different way than an Indo-European language, and what we do, we use existing words and alphabet to expect what we feel the meaning of the text can tell us. So what we've got, we've got temples. We know that temples existed within the Etruscan world. This is what this tells us. This is a sandstone slab. The Etruscans, this is key. I mentioned at the beginning that the Etruscans once ruled over the area of Rome. So why can't we say that Romulus and Remus, two brothers with a band of thugs, weren't in fact descendant from Etruscans themselves? So when they founded their city of Rome in 753 years BC, Ab Urbe Conditare, the foundation of our holy city of Rome, or the foundation of our city of Rome, Romulus and Remus founding the city, or as it was then, a shed on the edge of a hill, may have actually been descended from the Etruscans. Etruscans once ruled. The Etruscans must have massively influenced Rome. It was their neighbors. They were there, and I think in many ways, abandoning your forefathers and erasing your forefathers is something that's done in many contexts. We're even doing it today. For example, slavery is a massive part of our British culture, and we are erasing that part of our British culture. Things that we don't really want to associate with anymore. And one day there will be no British Empire, and one day there will be no slavery that this country is built upon. There will be none of these things, and we're just erasing all these parts and facets of our history. That's exactly what the Romans did to the Etruscans. And I'm not saying that slavery is right at all. I'm saying that you cannot erase our history, but the Romans actively erased Etruscan history because they just wanted to hide it, because the Etruscans were far better than the Romans. They were far more civilized than the Romans. They didn't need to war and screw everybody's minds up and rape and pillage throughout a world that they were to create an empire. They gently traded like everybody else in the Mediterranean. It was the Romans who were different. The Etruscans themselves, highly cultured people, as we know, we're now starting to get an idea of their religious and temple beliefs, the way that their culture and their life permeated across their land. Permanent Etruscan inscriptions are rare because they would have been wiped out, but we are now starting to find linen cloth books and wax tablets. And this text starts to paint a more fuller picture on the Etruscan world, told to us by the Etruscans, not those damnable Romans and Greeks. We can at this point affirm that this discovery of this carving associated with Uni in 2016 is one of the fine discoveries within the Etruscan world, really telling us more about what was happening. And we've also got a mention of another name in the text, Atina. T-I-N-A, Tina. And this is an interesting point. As they read through the text and they come up with the word Uni, and they've come across the word dinner, T-I-N-A, this Tina is actually the supreme deity of the Etruscans, the equivalent in ancient Greece as Zeus, and the equivalent in the Roman world as Jupiter. So, you know, little things like this, giving us a picture, giving us an idea of their beliefs, giving us everything else, giving us an idea of all the other texts that we're finding, their daily lives, the elites and the non-elites, how their workshops and kilns and potteries worked, how everything functioned is now starting to come to light. And it's all to do with this key fact that anything buried in the ground represented what was above ground. And now that sounds, what are you on about, Carl? Of course, that's obvious, isn't it? It's not obvious. It's not obvious at all, because but most Roman homes, the Romans didn't. Not most. The Romans didn't indicate what their homes were like above ground, underground. So what we're saying, all we've got as an understanding of the Roman world is from descriptions. And maybe from frescoes that have survived in the buildings themselves. But we know what Etruscan buildings look like because they replicated them underground perfectly to a T. Even to the, instead of using grave goods in some Etruscan tombs, they carved the items that they used in life in the stone underground. And the goods that they once used could be used by their loved ones. However, what they used in life is carved down below underground, so we can get a complete idea of the Etruscan world. Can't do that with the Romans. The Romans are so special and amazing, and I've written 3 books about them, but I'm starting to realize that they're not as good chaps as we make them out to be. I'm told that I've got to use the word Roman era now and not the Roman period in regards to referring to Roman Britain. And there's one woke idea that I'm going along with. So what I'd like to do, what I'm going to do is for Henri, because he's got to have his third of 100 injections that he's got to have through the rest of his lifetime. We're going to go directly all the way up to 12 o'clock. And now we got the penchant of this presentation, and you will see where I go off on one. But there's nothing wrong with going off on one. We all do it. Look at Kathy in my lectures when I used to be there. Oh, she used to go off on one all the time. Right. So what I'd like to do, right, Kathy, we do love you to bits. You know the one who I miss the most is all of you. I was going to say Kathy, but that would be a bit too much favoritism. So this is a map of the Etruscan world, Etruria, the name given to them by the Romans. And what you've got is that area, which was the heart of the Etruscan world. I just started to retreat and get smaller and smaller within that broad mindset of northern Italy. What you can see is the Etruscan League cities. And the Etruscans organized themselves into cities that were able to communicate with each other. It's a bit like the equivalent of Cardiff, working with Birmingham and London, and having all this sense of equality. You know, Bristol. You've got 12 cities sort of in Britain, and they all work together. And all the bit in between, they sort of decide what's going on. That's not modern governance. The modern governance is organized from London, and never shall that change. But in the Etruscan world, it's governed by 12 separate little individual city-states. So the model that Greece represents themselves on, with the idea of the city-state, where you might have Athens, and you might have Mycenae, and you might have all those other key cities organized in Greece, and some of the islands like Lesbos and Rhodes. These are individual cities, and they would war against each other in the Greek context. Maybe the Greeks copied that from the Etruscans and didn't really understand how it worked. The way it should work is that my city is equal to your city, right? And it worked. It worked for 500-600 years. Rome didn't like that. Rome had the idea that everything is to go from one area. Everything's to be controlled from one bent. and nothing shall ever go against that. Now, I know one of you is going to jump in and say, "Oh, look at that! It's very Asian looking. It's very Asian Minor looking." Yeah, it is. You've got the swastika on there as well, the inverse swastika. And so what we've got is we've got this wonderful territory, and let's say it's the earliest advanced civilization in Italy. Maybe I could be smacked for that one. And what we do, it endured time being who they were. Where Greece was always warring against itself, and Egypt was always being invaded by people from here, there, and everywhere. Eventually, Egypt become the prostitutes of the invading world. But the Etruscan world was very, very different. And it's to be said that what was left of the Etruscan world after the Romans had conquered it and butchered it, the people were then incorporated into becoming Roman citizens. Thank you very much. I really want to be English. It'd be that type of thing. It'd be like, well, it's happened, isn't it? We are English in Wales, but the fact of the matter is, you know, it's a bit like suddenly England coming over and saying, right, you're now all English, but we're Etruscans. No, we're not. You know, we're just no, you're not. You're all English, and that's the way it's to be. So this is the way we look at the Etruscan world. What was left is now Roman after about between about 90 and 27 years BC into the world of the empire of Octavian Augustus. Etruscan culture is something that stands alone, and it didn't really want the little map that we saw earlier on. It didn't want to conquer the whole of Italy because it didn't need to. It didn't need to. The Phoenicians didn't ever need to conquer the whole of the European Mediterranean. The Egyptians never ever conquered the whole of the Mediterranean either, because the Egyptians were a bit sea-like as well. The Greeks never really conquered the whole Mediterranean. What I'm trying to talk about is these people, the Lydians, they're the same. The Carthaginians, the same. It's like they're the same type of people. They may have spoke differently, but they thought the same. The Romans were very different. The Romans were leeches to the world of the Mediterranean. Everyone else wasn't. The Etruscans were never going to conquer the whole of Italy because they didn't need to. They didn't really need to. They may have established colonies in Corsica, and they may have established the odd colony elsewhere, but they weren't conquerors. But when you get a conqueror in the mix, things change, and everything did. Everybody becomes vulnerable. It's a bit like a really attractive prostitute. Everyone wants to sleep with her. Up until that point, everybody was plain and mundane, and everyone can make do. So hey, Steve hasn't been to one of my lectures, and Steve, this is the way I do them. So what we can say is that even though we got the Greeks and the Roman talents about the Etruscans, what we do find is that we do have some early writing of the Etruscans telling us about themselves, dating from about 700 years BC. So, you know, there's lots of stuff out there. And obviously we copy from other people like the Greeks to create their script. But then again, if the bloody Romans can take from everybody, why can't the Etruscans? And why can't the Etruscans still be Etruscans? But you know, they've got a really interesting political system, as I've said, and it's a really interesting political system in that it's like dominated by key families. So each of these 12 main cities that organize the landscape of the Etruscans, dominated by each of those cities dominated by a key family. And doesn't that make a good sense when we look at medieval Italy, where places like Florence and Milan and Venice are actually dominated by individual families, right? Naples dominated by individual families. This has come down from the mindset of the likes of the Etruscans. So the way Italy was organized until the Risorgimento in late 1859 to 1860 with Garibaldi and Risorgimento, Italy was still that country that the Etruscans had been before it was conquered by Rome. So some of the sense of the Etruscan ideal contained within the massive Italy, even though it had seemingly been wiped out by Rome. So, we could say that, judging from archaeological remains, there's this sort of intercourse between obtaining a wealth of this world from everybody else, which is fine. But the Etruscans gave a lot as well. In fact, uniqueness for the Etruscans is everything in regards to how they're creating a life for people who've passed away underneath the surface. You don't see that in ancient Egypt. You don't see that in ancient Greece. This is clearly an Etruscan ideal. This is clearly an Etruscan ideal of being out there and giving something to the world, unlike the Romans taking from the world. The Etruscans themselves called themselves the Rasenna, Rasenna, Rasenna. That sounds very similar to the later Roman city of Ravenna, which is in north eastern part of Italy. But Rasenna, that's what they called themselves. But we don't know where that name comes from. And obviously, the Greeks referred to them as the Tyrrhenians. And therefore, Tyrrhenians seem to have evolved into the name Etrurians, into the Roman sense. Tyrrhenian, named after the Tyrrhenian Sea, prompting some to associate them with the Teresh, the sea people, who the ancient Egyptians had named. But that's another story altogether, which we're not going to go into. So the name Tusky, Etrusci, Tuscany, comes from the Roman, which comes from the Greek Tyrrhenians, which we don't know where that comes from because the Etruscans called themselves the Rasenna. It would be a bit like somebody like me finding some written text telling us what the people of the valleys, all the individual valleys along the South Wales valleys actually used to call themselves, and not this fictitious nonsense of the Silures. So the Etruscans never called themselves Etruscans, the Rasenna. Yeah, that's what they were. And we can think that we can think themselves that as we sort of develop and understand the Etruscans a lot more, maybe we can understand where the name actually originally came from. Now, this itself, talking about sort of culture and cultural influences, and on the moment of 12 o'clock, I have seemingly totally ballsed up my schedule today. So we're probably we're going to have a little discussion with you. Henry, can you come on screen a minute? Do you have to leave at 12, or can't you leave it just a little bit after, and I'll ask you questions? So that would tie in with my regular weekly phone call.
All right.
And then I can have my break at the same time.
I'll give you to 10 past, and then I have to go.
10 past is ideal, my lovely.
Right.
And it's all for the love of you, Henri.
You crack on.
And then what we'll do, crack on with a good old whip. I like a good old whipping. So this itself, this image that you can see in front of you, and I still believe you've got this image in front of you that hang on, no, not that one. Let's bring this image up in front of you. This one, love it. This is a biconical cremation urn with crest-shaped helmet lid, dating probably from about the 800 years BC. So this itself, you can clearly see, has influences of the East. So it's got an inverse swastika, which would be something that you might see as Eastern. But however, I would argue that the swastika, whether it's inverse or the other way around, is actually can be seen across a lot of cultures within Europe. and it's no state of the imagination why the Germans actually used the swastika for their party flag for the Nazi party. And mind you, there was a group of people in Japan who actually used a swastika at the same time as well. So the swastika is a popular image, and people really get excited. They say, "Oh my God, there's a swastika! It's terrible!" And in fact, a little fact. I'm going to give you a very little fact. In 1939, in the British Museum, there were artifacts with swastikas on them, and they had to take them off display because people were being very woke and said, "Oh, we don't want representation of the Nazis in the British Museum," and they had to take them off display. Which is again, and it's not the same swastika either. So it's just a. But anyway, is this what I'm trying to get at? Is this of Eastern influence, or is this just a design that people use? We get very excited about the swastika, but the cross is used, right? We get the various not. Sort of creations of the Germanic people, which some people would use to call the Celtic knot. We would get chevron designs. All these different things are sort of in the culture of people, and we just shouldn't get excited about them. But anyway, moving on again, another image. Oh, we love it. Right now, we'll keep this one there for a moment, right? Now, I'll mention what this is now, and I'll feed into this other text that I've got in front of me. This is actually another in the shape of a hut, which might represent some of the typical homes of the non so representative ways that people are to be seen within the underground furniture of the Etruscan world. So this could be a storage shed, some other designs for buildings, and this is sort of an earlier shape of a building that the Etruscans would have lived in sort of between the late into part of the late 700s actually BC. And then obviously you've got the typical homes that you can see actually dedicated underground, which are in the later furniture underground. I'm use the word burial context furniture underground, which I've been so talking about. This is sort of an early representation of what a Etruscan home would have looked like. Again, we know what they look like. Great, excellent. But we don't know what Bronze or Iron Age houses look like in Britain because we've got no representation of them. But we do here with the Etruscans because it's there. It's there because it's there. So I just wanted to mention the language itself and trying to understand the text and all the rest of it has been mucked around with the ancient Greeks, and the ancient Greeks is written by Homer. It's written about Homer about the Etruscans as being pirates, and that tells me everything, because if Homeric hymn associated with Dionysus about the Etruscans portrays the Etruscans as being pirates, then that proves everything that I've been saying, that the Etruscans were a maritime people like everybody else. What is the definition of a pirate? So it's somebody who would travel. It's the same as the definition for a Viking. It's to adventures, to go out there and adventure. Pirating is not necessarily going out swashbuckling. It's a very different context, and the meaning of that term may be very different in a Greek context when Homer was actually writing in the 600 years BC. So what we do see is that again, postulation of there was a Roman writer, another little bit of a theory about the Etruscans. He said that some of the Etruscans may have actually come from the island of Lemnos. It originated from Lydia. And then what we do see is that there is some evidence suggesting a link between these islands in the Mediterranean, Etruscans, and why not? Because they were trading people. What we do find is that there is a contemporary Roman writer, and this Roman writer Dionysius, again, he keeps coming in as a god and whatever, totally different person. Dionysius, the Greek writer, writing before the years of the birth of Jesus Christ. He cites somebody known as Lydia, and he says, he writes, "For this reason, therefore, I am persuaded that the Pelasgians are a different people from the Tyrrhenians. And I do not believe that either that the Tyrrhenians were a colony of the Lydians, for they do not use the same language as the latter." So again, they're talking about the Etruscans. "Nor can it be alleged that, though they no longer speak a similar tongue, they still retain some other indications of their mother country." Are they indicating that the mother country is somewhere else other than Tuscany? We'll go on. "For they neither worship the same gods as the Lydians." Oh, they can't be from Lydia then. "Nor make use of similar laws of institutions." They're governed very differently, as I mentioned. This is a contemporary writer, Dionysius, writing about a previous writer that writing in about the 400s. "Indeed, those probably come nearest to the truth who declare that the nation migrated from nowhere else, but was native to the country of where they are, where we know them as. The Etruscans come from Tuscany. That's where they come from. This is Dionysius writing. So it's found to be a very ancient nation, and to agree with no other, either in its language or in its manner of living. Obviously, a very, very different people indeed. So what I want to do is I want to look at some of these images, and I want to again try to imbue this presentation with what I can do up until 10 past, because, you know, if it wasn't for Henri and it wasn't for Gough, I wouldn't be doing this today still. Mind you, Jane passes on her love, and Jane hasn't been very well recently, and I would say that she was having an operation. She told me to say this. She was having an operation, and it turned out that the surgeon said that they didn't know what he was doing to Jane, and the operation ended, and she's got a new person to do the operation, and she shall be fine. So we'll all be seeing her soon, even online and in the class. So this itself, if we're as we're looking at this, and we're looking at an Etruscan pendant from a place known as Bolsena, which dates from the 700s to 650 years BC in the Louvre in Paris. So this is this. And again, they've got gold, but they've also got another metal. The Resena, as the Etruscans called themselves, also had another metal. And they were great workers in bronze. In fact, we can see the gold work there. These are just stamps, right? We see this with various different worlds and civilizations from 600 years old BC or just before that. But look at this. Absolutely beautiful. And what I did on Tuesday, I typed in to my search bar, which I didn't do today because I forgot. I'm sorry, people. And what I'm going to do, whilst you guys are looking at that, I'm just going to see if I can find a clearer image. And if I can see a clearer image, that is the one we're going to look at. And oh yes, it's coming up on the screen. I'll tell you a little bit about this whilst we're waiting for it to come up on my screen. So here we go. And I just, oh, hang on a minute. I just had it. Oh God. There we go. And it'll come up in a moment, but we'll just do a little bit of this is known as the Puto Graziani, a hollow cast bronze on which is engraved the Etruscan inscription, "To the god Texans as a gift." Texans were the protectress of childhood, and this dates to roughly around 200 years BC. And this is in the Rome Museum of the Etruscans, the great museum of the Etruscans in Rome. It's quite ironic, isn't it, when you think about it? It's really ironic that that these Etruscans themselves, a key museum of who they were is actually in the city of the Romans who had actually conquered them. Long live the Ravenna. And look at this. Doesn't this look absolutely beautiful? We've got a child's toy as a bird there, the folds of the body and the hands and the neck and the eyes and the whips of the hair and the bangle on the leg. And there you've got the inscription. There it is. Texans as a gift. The word Texans, I don't know if it's, there we go. Hang on. Whoa, I've just done something wrong with the screen a minute. Hang on, we're gonna, oh, hang on, something gone wrong. Oh, hang on a minute. Is it? Oh, there we go. If you look there, I don't know if I can enlarge on this, but you can actually see where the cursor is, the word sans. It's got Texans as a gift. And it might actually be easier to be easy to prescribe the meaning of this than we make out. You know, there's a lot more to be said. So again, this is I love this. I love you've got this bronze work, and you've got this cast, and again this is a little insight, a tiny little gem and a bead into the Etruscan world. And I'm getting rid of that image now, so I've got enough memory on the screen. So if I can just go back to where we were there. And again, I love it. I love it. This is just one image, and we're not going to get through everything today. By the way, I'll just thought to warn you. Maybe we can do a little bit more. Oh, I love it. 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 A terracotta. This is a half-size terracotta sarcophagus of one set of the spouses, not these spouses, which we're going to look at. The sarcophagus of the spouses in the Museum of the Etruscans at Garanisi. So another museum associated with the Etruscans. This is this itself from Volterra, again intact. Let's have a little look at this, and I'm not gonna get all perfect images on all these today, but as this comes in, you can imagine, right? I've got a bench here where I'm sat now, right? And you've got another bench over there, and I'm just having this conversation, and I'm just going, look, I've met this woman, right? And there's Mum. Go easy on him. Dad, I've met this woman, right? And I've got her pregnant, and the mum's going, look, go easy on him, right? What should I do, Dad? Right? And what you're doing, you're feeding into what your dad would have said, because, you know, if anyone disagrees with this, I don't care, because this is what I believe, right? But the fact of the matter is, we all do it, and there might be one or two exceptions that we wander down the road and we think. My parents are still with me, but I'll use my grandparents as an example. I'm wandering down the road, and I love my grandparents to bits. There was Noah and there was Phyllis. And I might be wandering down the road, and I'm thinking, right, I need a lift to get home. Do I start thumbing the lift? What would Granddad have done? He would have said, start thumbing the lift now. And you take the first lift that's offered, and you go into that car and you drive off, right? Because my granddad always used to say, always take the first opportunity, because a second opportunity may never come. So if I had a thumb down that car, I may be wandering for the next 4 hours and I never see another car again. So it's taking that advice that my granddad would have given me, right? And I look at that, and to be honest with you, these lots of these tombs in an Etruscan context were open, and you would go down there, and the cremated remains or the bodily remains, usually cremated remains, would be in a sarcophagus underneath of your mum and dad, or these might be your auntie or whatever, and your mum is tenderly said, Dad, go easy on him, right? Be firm, but go easy on it. And what you would do, you then feed into the answer that your dad would have given you, and your dad would have said, "Oh, look, son, marry the woman, right? You shouldn't have done this. You know, you should have married her first, right?" And Mum's going, "Look, go easy on him, okay, son, right? You remember that gold I gave you to spend on your wedding when you met the woman of your dreams? Spend it. Okay, spend it. I'm not happy that you've got her pregnant before you've got married, but spend that money and have a wonderful life. And isn't that the message that we would have had from all of our relatives that have gone past? And this is why I'm so in love with the Etruscan world, because it's a world that we don't have anymore. It's a world that I would like to be able to visit my grandparents and just sit there, but we've got to do so in freezing cold cemeteries in Britain, and we don't have those opportunities of going down into a crypt and visiting the family and talking to them. I know that sounds very morbid, but that's what I would like to do. I would like to be able to do that. My sister died in 2006. I've never managed to even come close to accepting that. And I've got no real context to do that. So the Etruscans kept their loved ones alive, where we just bury people when we forget them, and how dare us, because we're no nearer as civilized as these people. These are better than us, and we live in a society with computers and all the rest of it, and how dare we forget our loved ones? And these people didn't. So these are far better people than we will ever be. And again, what we do see there, as we look through Italy, we see that we've got all these different worlds. Down in the south there, on the island of Sicily, you've got the Greeks, and they are trading with the wider world, because the Greeks are those great traders of the Mediterranean, just like the Etruscans, and just like further south, the Carthaginians, and all of these people like the Umbrians and the Samnites and the Sardinians have all got all of that sense of trade and movement, and a sense of their place within the wider world of the Mediterranean. And what we're going to do now, we are going to take a break, because I am well aware that Henri will have to leave us. So Henri, the mic is over to you. And Henri, hopefully I have put across to you what I wanted to put across, but we do have another 30 minutes after our break, which will be 15. And I've got to nail some bits of wood into the duck shed. That's why it's a 15-minute break. And Goff can get to know what Jim's been up to over the past year. Right, Henry.
No, enjoying this. It's actually a part of the world I really like. My wife's family actually come from central Italy, from a region called Cambabassa, right up in the mountains. So
nice.
it's something I'm enjoying very much. And sorry, I am going to have to leave. So I will see you next week.
Well, I'm going to tell you, whilst you're still there, we're going to be doing the Newport ship next week as we start to wind down the year. I will also mention that if anyone is interested, I am changing the time of my afternoon class on a Wednesday online to 6 p.m. And we're going to be looking at the links that we see within buildings and how buildings work within the archaeology and history. And that's going to be not next week, but every 6 p.m. Starting a week Wednesday. So if anyone wants to sign up to that class, you need to let me know afterwards. And thank you very much, Henri. Yeah, best of luck with your injection. Hopefully it's not going to make you ill. You know, the last one that you had, did that make you ill?
Everything stopped.
Are you still there, Henry? Henry, are you still there? Henry, can you hear me? I'm still here.
Hello?
Henry, can you hear me? Right.
Yes.
So I was just asking, Henry, you know, your injection, did the last ones hurt, or did you make you ill?
No, I was all right.
Well, you'll be fine on this one.
Might be tempting fate. Anyway, have a good week.
All right, then, touch wood. You have a good week. I'll see you next week, darling. Take care.
All enjoy.
All the best, Henry. Cheers. Thanks, Henry. Best of luck. Now I got my sensible class back. Garth, anything you'd like to say, darling? Love of my life.
Good, very interesting so far. Good, thank you.
Well, you know, it should be massively interesting. It should, on the vein of the bent of life's experience into a world that we. Did you notice they even found a few statues of Lloyd George as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets everywhere. He gets everywhere. Right. Anyway, Andrea, love of my life, don't leave me.
Hey.
Oh, right. Sorry, Andrea. Go on.
Okay. I'm fine. What's wrong?
You what?
What do you want?
I just wonder if you've got any questions.
No, I got no questions.
All right. Now I'm going to open the mic to the Lantwick Major class, and Garth, you may as well go and have a cup of tea because you know what's going to happen. Right. Okay. Ask to unmute. Oh, they've gone.
No, they're there. I can see them.
All right. Go on then. Anyone want to say anything from that gang?
They haven't got their mic on.
Oh, for
Who wants to
okay.
say something?
Right. Go on then, Witch.
Right.
Was it you?
It seems that you really hate the Romans, so why do you write books about them?
Actually, as you know, I'm a professional actor, and what you've always got to do in acting, you've got to act the reverse of your experience. Basically, you know, this is you can get an idea of a people looking at it from a different point of view, and that's probably the best way. Do you know what? Right, I in a way loathe giving lectures about the Romans because it's just in my head too much. So this is why I like doing other stuff, and this is why I like slagging them off. It's a bit like I can slag somebody off from Barry because I'm one of the scum from Barry. Okay, so I can do that. And maybe I can do the same with the Romans because it's sort of in my mindset. Anyway, right, Kathy, let's have it large from you. No, right, Karen.
No, she's gone.
Making coffee.
What about you, Steve?
Can you boost the sound at all from your end? It's very soft here.
Well, it's very soft. Goff, are you hearing me loud and clear?
Yes, I hear you. You're hard. Yes.
I got no problems. Quite loud here.
Well, it's your guys' doodah then, right? Can I ask if there's anything else anyone wants to say in Lantwick Major, please?
Anything else?
What about Chris, Lynn, Arnold, Keith?
No, thank you.
No, we're all perfect as usual.
Right. Okay then. Right. What we're gonna do? I'm gonna grab something to drink. You'll lose one of me on the screen because I gotta get the I gotta get the phone function on it. So I will be. If there's no other questions, or anyone interested in my Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock? Anyone? Okay.
No.
Sorry, say that again, Carl. I didn't hear you.
Right. It's Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock. I'm going to be looking at how archaeology plays out in regards to access to buildings and what evidence do we have for disability in buildings and that type of thing. So we'll be doing that 8 sessions on Wednesday, a week Wednesday at 6 o'clock online.
Okay, I'd quite be interested in signing up for that if that's possible. That's
And
Steve.
that's Steve.
It is,
Is
yeah.
that Steve? Yeah. Okay, Steve. What I'll do, I'll write that in as a note to get back in touch with you. Okay.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Oh, I know. Also, Steve, do you know we've got a sit down and a ghost storytelling session at Llanblethian Castle on the it's the 10th, which is a Saturday. Oh no, a Friday the 10th. And that's if you're interested in that, let me know. But because I know you've been on some of my ghost walks. So what I'll do, on the Wednesday, I will get information over to you, Steve. Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Take care. And okay, let's have our break, folks.
Super.
It is getting colder.
Colder, yes.
I think
The heating is on, but it's literally.
When you're sitting
really
down, isn't it?
warm.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
How do we turn the mute back on again to stop somebody overhearing all the nasty things we're going to say about
it? Jim, do you know how to turn the mute back on? Sorry. I don't know how to do it.
Well, where's the...
No, I couldn't find it.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
It's a bit sticky.
No, it's the-
Get to it.
Oh, sorry.
Jim,
No, it hasn't done it.
Jim. Thank you for,
Oh, yeah. Hi, Andrea. Did you have a nice time in Bournemouth?
yeah, it's good here. Thanks for the boxes.
Didn't work.
Ginger cake today.
Oh, missing it all today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Manager.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
I put 2 in because I forgot to pay last time. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice rain and
That's Saturday.
yeah.
We've got a wedding on Saturday.
I've got a stall up in CF61, but it's outside. How many layers can you put on? Yeah.
How many hats?
Arctic gear. I'll bring it next week.
So then
We can
next
do
week,
it
that's
next
fine.
week. then.
What time table then? I think we've got a session like up to the day of
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
not the following week, not the.
No, it
Thursday
is.
before
It might,
Christmas.
it might be.
Oh,
might
right,
be,
okay.
might be.
Well, Jessica should know that. She's.
Yeah. He doesn't believe in holiday.
No, he doesn't like to have breaks, but it's many books.
Jamaica ginger cake for a long time.
Bloody Philco's, I thought, oh, that makes a change.
They're still not new. They're still not muted.
No.
So what you
As
say?
you went
Still
in
not
June,
muted.
far away or?
Yeah, here.
Oh, there we are.
Very successful, really. You see a married couple that sound very low.
Pictures.
Some half
Oh,
down.
right.
So
Well,
I'm
yeah,
thinking, oh
so-
my God, where's the new, you know?
Yeah, so there's not many places where you can go for a nice pictures of
Well, just across that Lorna Park.
Oh, Lorna Youth Park, yeah.
I thought I might take it over there, it's
Yeah.
okay. But group shots, I do outside front of the church, because they have space there, they have the church in the background.
Yeah.
The groups. I
Yeah.
thought that's portrait shots now, because to go across there,
Yeah.
if it's okay.
That's
But apart from that.
They've got yellow wind warning.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What time are you on? I was doing something else on Saturday. I don't know.
It's 10. The stalls are open until 4.
So what is, where is this?
CF61, and
And
then
what
they've got
pasta, is
Santa
it?
and the
wow.
craft lanterns. and
What day is
everything.
this?
I've always thought that you come home
It's like
before
come-
that. You know, because,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
come
You
down
find
to
me
see
like
schools.
We'll shift you off
I
the
think
ground.
it's pretty useless.
The weather is not good, is it?
No.
Yeah, it's well
And somebody had put to the organizer, you know, when are you going to make the decision if it's on or off? And she said it's on. And that's it. It is on.
Yeah, don't be a wimp.
Bring a coat.
I paid 30 quid for this flipping store, so you know, don't want to
Crikey.
lose that money.
No. Sorry, where is this? Where is it?
CF 61.
Oh, I can't remember.
On my door. My crotcheted thing.
Okay.
Rather a lot of it.
Thank you, Jim.
I normally sell at my grandson's store. But of course, last year it was cancelled. So this year it's cancelled. So.
You got no good stock.
Oh yeah. He said, "Would you want half of 20?" Can I have 2? Sarah's going to come down. Great. I'll take out the shelf and go and buy her some presents then.
Let's start at 10.
10.
Well,
the store.
That's what the historians have decided.
But they're doing the lantern parade and Santa and everything. It's all day.
Who's coming to do that?
Santa.
Oh, Santa. Oh, right. No
I
one
have no
famous.
idea.
No one famous soon.
I don't know actually.
84,000 votes cast. As one that's
yeah.
competed in the Parliament. College went to that.
Can't get more
Well,
famous than
we'll get
Santa. Say to Archie, quality Santa, I can imagine it's Santa. It's all the real one.
Oh, wow.
It's a shame, really. Because they used to, Santa used to come around all the streets.
He did.
Yeah. But the
Only
lions
people
used to do
present
that.
to
It was a
do.
lion
How many
dance.
people
Oh,
must
that's
have
right.
heard
Lion
about this?
dance, yeah.
Couldn't
Don't
run.
know anything about it.
That's right. They had a sleigh and everything.
Yeah.
And you just come around the streets. And chuck the sweets out, didn't they?
It's nice for the kids to leave and stuff like that.
Yeah, what's it?
My granddaughter, she wanted to lose one of her teeth. It's really rugby. So Tracy explained to like the tooth fairy and all the rest of it. So she came down, she hadn't lost a tooth at that stage, but she came down the following morning and she said to her mum, she said, "I don't want you as my tooth fairy, I want a proper one." So, all this was about. It turned out that her brother is 5, 6 years older. And explained that mum wasn't very reliable when it comes to you might be better off with somebody else.
Do yourself a favour.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
thank you.
remember this week.
When you tell your kids, don't sit on a strange or talk to strange people or whatever.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
you go along to a big fat guy, sit on his lap,
Yeah.
smelling of whiskey.
I always thought that.
It's not a bad job, that one, is it? You've got the downtime, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah.
One night.
Yeah, one.
It's a bit seasonal.
Yeah.
Very serious.
Yeah. I thought you were so still, I thought we'd frozen the picture.
Deep in thought about
Yeah.
something.
Contemplation.
Yeah.
We are not muted, by the way, if you're
No.
thinking of commenting.
That's all right. Is it following you though, or was it just my ears?
No, it's very loud. I can hardly
Can you
hear
turn it
it.
up then? It's just,
No, we
it's
can't.
just coming through the
Karen said it was
laptop
at
or
its
through
most,
or through
at its
the.
highest.
I tried it on the telly thing, but it doesn't seem to make any difference.
Oh, right.
Because golf was quite loud.
Oh,
So
yeah, golf was
it's
quite
something
loud.
to do
Oh, it
with.
can go up a bit more, huh?
I mean, it can go up a bit more.
Go to maximum.
Well, now it's still-
We don't want a car shouting at us. No, not any more than you.
Turn it down. It's too loud. Turn it down.
Yeah, but it seemed to do anything though when I did.
Well, no, to 11, that's what you got to do.
It's on 86.
99.
Oh, 99.
I looked away, you must have gone.
Just in case it's too loud, they really split down.
Where did Jess gone today?
Northern Ireland.
Yeah, she
Oh,
went
really?
Belfast,
Belfast,
didn't she?
yeah.
Yeah.
What, an archaeological thing or just
Holiday with them, eh?
Just friends.
Northern Ireland.
Never been to Northern Ireland,
No.
Southern Ireland.
I had a day in Southern Ireland, over and back in a day. I'm a vomit comet.
Okay.
Yeah, well, coming back on the ferry might be interesting for her tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, my lord.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Storms, what do you name it?
I hope she's on the ferry and not the catamaran.
Well,
That
unless
was
they
awful.
stop it running.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be.
I felt sick even on a really calm day. So it's like-
No, I know, so I thought I could change.
claims are the best thing in the world for seasickness is strawberry jam sandwiches.
Why is that?
It's the best thing in the world for seasickness is
Yeah,
strawberry
why?
jam. It tastes just as good coming up as they do.
I'm waiting for that.
Oh, God.
Better than carrots. Anyway.
I thought there was going to be some scientific reason.
Yeah.
Something to do with the sugars, or the, you know,
Very good.
starch.
I was trying to get in touch with Carl. Oh, you're still there, Carl?
Carl's gone to checking his turkeys.
It's turkey, okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure they're still there.
Yeah.
All of them are still there, yeah.
Is that a backdrop or is that actually a reality?
No, well, it's got a green screen.
It's a green screen,
Yeah,
right,
so you
yeah.
put pictures behind you.
Yeah,
Whatever you
yeah.
want.
Well, I know when he was at home he did, but
Yeah.
I wondered if he's
Some of the
down with
ones,
it,
yes,
if
but
he's
actually-
at home or whether he's
Some of them
in
are
the
from the
fields.
field.
Yeah.
He's saying he's in
Well,
the
the giveaway
field.
is when he
and what's
disappears
that?
into the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he looks like he's fighting out.
People plastic.
Well, it's really animated, isn't
Very
What's
good.
his stats?
Oh, I.
It's quite funny.
You
Actually.
will. Stick your face.
He's in trouble with Peppa Pig Reed.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. I was watching that live and lost his script for that.
Oh, I saw the kind of edited highlights of that. He'd obviously just lost the plot, didn't he? Or-
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he lost his place, then he couldn't find his pages and everything.
I mean, I was reading in the paper, there's an apocryphal story of a minister years ago who was very, very well unliked in his department. Civil servants hated him. So he had this large speech to give. So he read the first 3 pages, and on the next page, the civil servants had just written, "You're on your own from here." And the rest of the speech was blank. For another half an hour. It was just,
Sometimes you used to get, not big person, but like civil servants would get called up if there's a debate in the House on a particular topic, help news about. So that if you got caught a question that you didn't quite know,
Yeah.
which frantically scribbling little answers, you know, like one line answers
Yeah.
All right,
and stuff like
okay.
that. And so, I mean, if it's either the minister wasn't all that tuned in, or it was a complicated bloody thing to backwards and forwards.
all the time,
backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not really, that's cool. a rude joke about Minster. It's not very, very rude. It's a permanent secretary. Like, it's the very sort of proper upright guy who used to come in every morning, breakfast, clockwork, have him take the coat jacket off, hang it up, take his times, go to the loo, sit down on the loo, did the times possibly. And it was known he just didn't interrupt you when he was doing his ablution for the times clock. And one day, a phone call comes through from the PM, and needed to talk to him. But Douglas said, well, you can't that's disturbing when he's in the toilet. So I thought you said to the bloody PM, well, it's up to you. So he went down and he wrote a little bit of paper and stuck it under it. It just says, the Minister, the PM wants to talk to you urgently. Stuck it under there. So the Minister wrote on the back of the paper and passed out. It said, tell the PM I can only do it one shift at a time.
He's probably playing Candy
He's
Crush.
having fun with his phone there.
Bound to be.
So is that all that's in this online class then? There's basically golf, this.
Yeah, once
Henry,
yeah.
And then anybody who
The girl,
can't make
the girl
this
from
work.
Romania as well.
Jane,
Oh, Jane,
yeah.
Helen
The girl from
sometimes goes,
Romania.
but she doesn't take
Oh,
part.
Well, presumably Jane
Not-
looked
not
at it
Barbara.
sometime.
I can't remember.
no, I can't remember either. She lives in Romania.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the one who
What
lived in,
So,
is it Romania, Bulgaria?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
dogs,
Bulgaria.
whatever
dogs and
problem.
cats and things.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
what happened to that dapper guy that used to come to the town hall? He always used to sit near the door as you went in on the
Alan,
left-hand side.
Alan.
Yeah, I haven't seen him for ages.
No.
So
No,
halfway
he-
through
he
lockdown.
He booked and paid to go on a trip, and we waited for him outside the station, and he didn't turn up. And he didn't turn up, and he didn't turn up. His phone was broken, and he wasn't answering anyway. And Carl had to ring his next door neighbour to say, please, can you go round and check he's all right? We're waiting for him here by the station for the van. And she went round and knocked on the door, and he refused to come out. He said, I'm not going to anything because of COVID.
We saw him.
I've seen him, and he said, Carl wouldn't give me my money back, and I felt like saying, well, I'm bloody surprised. He had to pay for the room.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you divide the driver's fee and everything else by the number of people going. You don't give somebody the money back, because besides the fact that we were sat there for over half an hour waiting for him.
Yes.
So no way is he coming back. I mean, when I bumped into him, I felt really sort of, I suppose I better not be rude. I don't want to be rude. But to complain, you don't get your money back when you never bothered to turn up and let anybody know. It's just-
Well, you know, if you knew sort of a week before and said, it's slightly different. But, and Pete doesn't come anymore either, does he?
No. Well,
We've
he
seen him a
hadn't
couple of
been out
times.
to the library to get the, when Roger or whoever was doing it, it was different people as they kept getting fed up. You know, he'd gone to that, I think, once at the beginning, and then never went to it. So I
There's
know
Pete's
really
growls.
Like a bear.
And this Margaret has never turned up.
It's true, I think she's a fantasy.
That's cute, but haven't come back, isn't it? Terry, that's another one.
She hasn't, she was very poorly. I think
Oh,
she
she-
had a cancer of some sort.
No, right.
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
But I haven't heard from Sue about her. Sue
Mm.
doesn't come
Oh,
either,
yeah,
does she?
Sue.
Sue Sanders, because she used to come online, didn't she?
Yeah.
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 But Sue knows Terry.
Oh,
Terry, yes, I think.
Yeah,
The thing, yes, got- yeah.
And
No, we haven't seen her about.
Janet and John.
Yeah.
Janet and John, you know, John who was into
The
making.
blacksmith, wasn't he?
Yeah.
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 There's a young man coming.
Steve as well.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Steve,
Steve,
yeah.
yeah. That was it, that's John. Yeah, and there was
John.
Adam as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, young chap Adam.
Yeah.
You're getting quite rich.
It was at times, yeah.
Yeah.
15, 16,
Yeah.
They used to come round, didn't they, sometimes and check on the numbers, didn't they? That was-
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep
Yes.
moving so they can't count. And then when Carl used to come in and try to set that bloody screen up. It's like bloody, I don't know, it was like a Tom and Jerry card. Kept falling down around his ear, legs stuck in the legs. And in the end, you used to get up and sort it out at the end, didn't you?
Well, I gave him that screen, you
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
projector screen, I had a spare one, so, because he used to project on the door, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't
One
very
end of it
good.
wasn't moving, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Because the camera was a bit of a funny angle, the pictures used to go.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. Keystone.
Oh, good times.
I miss the raffle.
yes. Those wonderful
Oh, the raffle.
raffles. Yeah.
Sitting out in the car park, and we had that first one after COVID was.
Oh, when they tell
Oh,
us.
when he wanted us
That's
to
it,
sit in
yeah,
the car park, yeah.
We had it out
Oh,
there.
yes.
That was an experience.
I'm thankfully wasn't there.
Right, folks, so let's get back to it. I was nibbling on some nuts.
Oh, he's back.
No difference to the sound.
No.
I was nibbling on some nuts. I wasn't. I got a bit carried away. Right.
That's what we're not coming.
I think it's Carl's end, darling.
I bet you're missing Jessica today. You've got to put up with me. Right, okay, let's get started. Image.
We're having difficulty enough hearing you without you talking with your mouth full.
Oh, you've upset him again.
I think you've just been cancelled.
Muted now.
I just got to finish nibbling on my peanuts. I like peanuts.
I don't think he heard you, Kath.
No, no.
Nearly done. Right. Okay.
So presumably the volume thing must be his end, isn't it?
Yeah.
Must be now, yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, well, we've got the computer turned full up, we've got the telly turned full up.
So I've got to speak really loud for you guys, but everybody else can hear me.
Correct.
Are we on mute?
Well, that would help if you guys stopped talking whilst I was speaking, and then you'd have a lot better show. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute you guys because we're sick of Goff is sick of you interfering with us. So the map that you can see in front of us is clear. We before the break, we were talking about the fact that we've got an extensive trade network throughout the Mediterranean, and you can see about all the grey areas, the types of area that trade and everything is actually going to, throughout the Mediterranean, including the likes of ancient Egypt. So the next bit I'd like to do now. The next bit I'd like to do now is to actually expand a little bit more on the art, a little bit more about the archaeology, and hopefully if you can actually hear me. And I think what we need to actually go to is actually showing you, just sort of playing with this map a little bit and sort of saying that not only do we have influences in the Etruscan world, the Resenian world, as they call themselves, but we've also got possible influences from as far north as the likes of Sweden and Denmark. And we've got influences coming from the likes of Germany and Poland. And we've got influences from the Hispanic Peninsula, obviously Africa, and all the way across into Gaul and so on. And it has been discussed, and I've heard this bandied around, that about a link to do with the island of Britain as well, but that's something else for another day. So this statue itself is absolutely godlike. And this again is another demonstration of the skills of those great artists that are to be found within the Etruscan world. Now, I'm just, this is actually known as the Mars of Todi, as the place of the medieval writer Arnold of Todi in the 1400s. But this is a Mars of Todi, a great bronze sculpture. And yes, you are seeing some marble insets as eyes for the whites of the eyes, dating back to about 400 years BC. And you can actually see the absolute detail. So if you're thinking, well, you know, you sort of see this in regards to the Roman world, you can get an idea again that this is the Romans, their world is coming a little bit after this. One of the things that has been greatly distracting and really upsetting is some of the things that I've been looking at today in regards to the origins of the Etruscans. So we have become distracted with where the Etruscans have actually come from, instead of actually looking within their own mantle of the archaeological remains that have been excavated across Tuscany. We do see that within the archaeology, that some archaeologists are going along the lines that there is no evidence really to be found in the early stages of a migration theory. So things are really changing. And some archaeologists would go back further in saying that the idea of the development in the Etruscan world not only goes back to 900 years BC, but actually goes back to the time that you had the sea people and some of the great invasions and some of the great collapses of the Mycenaean world in regards to the middle part of the 1100s. And these people, if they're part of that sort of Mediterranean world of trade through the sea routes, then it stands to reason that their origins might actually come back to as far as 3,100 years ago. What we do see is from the archaeological excavations, the excavations in the major Etruscan cities, and there are 12 of them at least, showed something rather tender and something rather gentle that we actually see in lots of other archaeological mindsets across the Mediterranean and in regards to Britain. And what that simply is that we see a Neolithic culture, and then we see a Neolithic culture going back to 4,000 years ago plus, and then we see that giving way to a Chalcolithic period on the continent, the Copper Age, and we've got the Bronze Age. And then we've got this nice little Bronze Age where people are actually creating these sort of city-states constructed on rocky precipices. And these rocky precipices contain the city-states of the Etruscan world. And they just simply developed into the Etruscan world as we see it today. They just gently leaped into being the civilized world that the Etruscans are. And by saying that the Etruscans have actually come from somewhere else is highly insulting in understanding who the Etruscans are. So we've got all this gene theory that we've mentioned, and what I'd like to do is probably look at some more of the images, look at some of the little bit of a text here, look at this very controversial thing here that says the possibility that Rome was founded by the Etruscans. In fact, the brothers Romulus and Remus were actually Etruscan, maybe looking at that. What I'd like to do is maybe have a little bit more of a look at Mars of Todi, this wonderful statue in front of us. And actually, I might get an even clearer image. So if we can see if we can get a clearer image that we could just glide into. But you can see the detail that you're actually looking at in regards to this life. It's life-sized. It's the embodiment of an actual being. It's life size. It's there. Yeah, let's say there in the flesh. It's there in reality, and I've got a clearer image coming up as well, which I'm sure you would all appreciate. And this sort of sense that we're looking at this great explosion of art in ancient Greece being very lifelike and being very human. When in fact this has already been around in the Etruscan period in the 500, 600, 700 years BC, a few hundred years before the wonderful ages of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. And it's very reminiscent. If we screen share on a more clearer image, I'm going to clear. If we screen share on this more clearer image, that is just sublime. That takes you away with every fold and every crease, every sinew, every length of muscle. And you're looking at this statue, and we don't really know where this would have been placed initially, but it's intact, it's complete. And you might be looking at this, and you might be mistaken for thinking this is a real person in the dark, for example. And again, repeating it, it's lifelike, it's real, it's life size, and we can't be surprised by this. We've got to say that this is in fact the missed civilization of Europe, where people talk about the greatness of ancient Egypt, and you talk about the greatness of the Greek world and the greatness of the Roman world. There are actually people who actually call themselves the astracologists. And an astrachologist is actually somebody that actually only studies the world of the Etruscans. And it's becoming more and more popular to actually rediscover this world, that even though it's been all around us, we can rediscover a world that is basically for all to see. It's just that maybe history hasn't given it its fair dues. And as the founding fathers of maybe the Roman world, then we need to sort of see a sense of enlightenment. I need to go back to my images. So if I can go with this, and I need to change my screen share. Got lots going on at this minute, so we can do that. And I know you've got right, this is the next frame. Let's just go on to this one. Let's move on, and let's just chuck this in there. As I say, I'm not going to be able to get to do everything I wanted to do, and I'm well aware it's 12:50 now. So we'll try and finish for one. I've got to go and get my train. I'm only joking. And this is one of those great city-state localities on a bit of a rock. This is known as the Civita dea Bagnaregio. Civita dea Bagnaregio. And this is one of those Etruscan League places. Maybe the Etruscans didn't call themselves an empire. Maybe they didn't call themselves a civilization. Maybe they just said, well, you've got your city over there, we all work together, and we're the Ravenna. That's what we call themselves. These outcrops of rock still survive today. Obviously, all the buildings there of these 12 great cities, all the buildings there are going to be Roman and medieval and later. And there might actually be a 13th city as well. There might actually be more cities than the 12. And the League itself, we'll call them the League of the Etruscans. The League themselves was mostly economic and a religious league, a loose confederation, similar to the Greek states. And obviously, we've already mentioned that Greek states probably took that model. And probably by the time of the slow ingress of Rome, it may have expanded to 15 or 16 states. So they were all sort of gathering together. But Rome didn't like this. Rome didn't like the way this was going. Now, the controversial statement is this: the Etruscans, possibly the founders of Rome, those who subscribe to a Latin foundation of Rome, followed by an Etruscan invasion, typically speak of Etruscan influence on Roman culture. That is, cultural objects which were adopted by Rome from neighboring Etruria. So in other words, not giving any fair dues to the Etruscans. The prevailing view is that Rome was founded by Latins from the south, who later merged with Etruscans. So in other words, the Etruscans are given no credit so far in the theory that Rome was being founded, but it's well within the Etruscan territory at that stage when Rome is being founded, sometime around 750 years BC. And one of the notable objects of that idea of the founding of Rome by the Etruscans is something that is to be found on all those mementos of Roman civilization: Romulus and Remus and the she-wolf. That is believed to actually be created. It's controversial, the Capitoline wolf, but it's long considered an Etruscan bronze feeding the twins Romulus and Remus. Can you imagine if that actually is Etruscan? The main criterion for deciding whether an object originated at Rome and traveled by influence to the Etruscans or descended to the Romans from Etruria is date. Many, if not most, of the Etruscan cities were older than Rome. Everything was older than Rome. If one finds that a given feature was there first, it cannot be originated in Rome. Rome was a shed on the edge of a mountain, right? And that's it. That's all that Rome was. Rome wasn't a city. It was started off by two boys, and one boy murdered the other one. A second criterion is the opinion of the ancient sources. These would indicate that certain institutions and customs came directly from the Etruscans. So even the Greeks and the Romans are actually maybe mentioning that the Etruscans did actually make an influence on the history. The archaeological evidence tells us a lot more than that. Rome is located on the edge of what was Etruscan territory, vis-a-vis, we've said that. When Etruscan settlements turned up south of the border, it was presumed that the Etruscans spread there after the foundation of Rome, but the settlements are now known to have preceded Rome. Etruscan settlements were frequently built on hills, the steeper the better, as we've seen with the previous image, and surrounded by thick walls. According to Roman mythology, when Romulus and Remus founded Rome, they did so on the Palatine Hill, according to Etruscan ritual, where you would found a city. And then surrounded by a wall and a sacred ditch. Then they proceeded with the very great walls. Romulus was required to kill Remus when the latter jumped over the wall, breaking its magic spell. Interesting. So the wall was very important, all based on Etrurian law. And the name of Rome is attested in Etruscan in the form Ruma, meaning Roman, a form that mirrors other attested meanings. This is itself, however, is not enough to prove Etruscan. The Etruscans actually founded Rome itself, and it's been dismissed. It's been dismissed over and over again by Roman historians that the Etruscans had any influence on the foundation of their city. Later history relates that some Etruscans may have actually continued to live in the new founded city of Rome when it was eventually got going. So it's all up for grabs. It's all up for grabs. What was going on with what happened with the foundation of Rome. But what I'm going to do now is we're now, because time is now upon us, we've now got to look at some images. So we've got that image there of a mother and a child, a little sort of burial item of mother and a child, and again very, very lifelike. Again, an idea of what Roman of Etruscan clothing looked like, the arrangement of their hairs, and obviously showing a mother not encumbered by societal control. that last image will come on to at the very end, because that's what I'm going to say. Obviously, we've got smaller bronzes, and you might say, "Oh, that's quite crude," and it is crude. But then again, is it? Because in modern art, we have various different art forms. You know, Picasso, for example, we're saying, "Oh, that's crude, isn't it?" That's not really lifelike. But then again, Picasso is one of the greatest artistic thinkers of the 1900s. And we're thinking, well, you know, it's the same thing. There's every the Etruscans broke every rule. Their art was sublime, and their art was very art-like as well as in this form. Look at that then, and we compare this with the chimera, the great chimera, and this again, this is within the moments of some of the finest art ever created in bronze on this planet. This is the chimera of Arezzo, and the chimera of Arezzo has an inscription relating to Tinia on the chimera's leg. Is the inscription of Tinia on the leg associated with Tina, that was the head god of the pantheon of the gods associated with the Etruscans, or is that the artist's name? But a chimera, even with a chimera, you've got the mane of our lion there, and even the representation of the snake and the gazelle, or a gazelle-like creature, is very lifelike. Everything on here is very lifelike. Look at those ribs. Look at the way the ribs form. And do you know what? If I could have just done the images today and just gone through this, but I wanted to give you some more information. And again, there is Tinia, and you can actually see it there. Tin, Tinia. And this is what I was talking about. This is a representation of what a tomb would have looked like. A 3D view facing west of the Etruscan Hypogeum at Perugia, Italy. And this is a laser scan of what one of these great underground chambers would have looked like. But the giveaway is it looks like a house. And this is what Etruscan houses look like. But it's carved underground. It's carved in a solid rock underground. And going down to it, you've got all these, in another building above it, which would be another necropolis, another mortuary house above it. As the chamber underground become full, you've got all these other chests of all the other family members. So you're visiting all the other family members, you're going underground and visiting the family members that you wanted to visit. And again, this is showing you the life and light of the Etruscan world. This is a fresco dating to about 450 years BC. This is again in the Tomb of the Leopards at the necropolis of Monterizio in Tarquinia, Italy. So again, look at the color, look at the garishness, look at the life underground in a burial context. I wanted to loathe. I didn't really want to use the word burial context because we want to portray these people as still living in the afterlife to be visited. And look at that there. That looks just so Roman, but it's not. It's a terracotta head of a man wearing a laurel wreath. Again, this shows you of the massive influence that these people had over the Roman world. And the one thing I want to end with, because I'm very aware of time, so I'm just going to get a really clear image, and I'm just going to just get this in here. I didn't have this one ready, but I'm going to have this one ready. It's this is one of the most famous one of the most famous pieces of burial furniture. It's lifelike, and we're gonna show you this. I need to get the one that I used in my lecture in the week. Oh my god, I just want to do so much more, but I can't. Okay, let's just get this clear on here, and I'll show you this image. This is known as the sarcophagus of the spouses, and we'll just end on this. And I'll show you this. And where are we? And here we go. Just a little bit of discussion, and then we'll call it a day, folks. If anyone needs to go now, let me know, but we'll just be 2 minutes. I can't do this in 2 minutes. This image, this would have been a whole hour, me describing this one piece of art. This is terracotta. You can imagine it is very subtle. It's very gentle. You've got the pillows there. You've got the slippers. You've got the arrangement of the bed. You've got everything there. This is the Etruscan world. The only thing missing is that guy's hand. You've got everything there, and you're looking and having that discussion. And there's your mother, and there's your dad, and you're saying, "Mum, look at my new child." And what about you putting your fingers through my child's hair? And you've even got another sarcophagus like this with a couple, and the hands of the mother are out, ready to accept some flowers, or you as the daughter, or you as the father, your child. And you can imagine dad saying, "Oh, come on, can I have a little feel of that hair?" And mum saying, "What a beautiful child you've got." And dad is saying, "I wish I could be with you now." And you're having that conversation, and these are meant to be seen. And we know these are meant to be seen because on the steps down into these hypogeum, these burial vaults underground, you've got steps that are worn down, and also you've got like an anti-animal lintel, like a stile, and it's through the wear of people going down into the hypogeum, you can clearly see that people went down there every single day, and maybe the daughter or the son of this couple visited their parents every single day, through every single moment, through every single act in their lives. And then eventually they would be buried with their parents throughout the generations. And that is the life and times and the reality of the greatest civilized world this planet has ever seen. And I will say that because the Etruscans is something that I so deeply and passionately love. And it's a shame we didn't do more of these types of images, because if I had, we would have just done the images. And I just really want to avoid that. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to stop the screen sharing now. Are there any questions from Andrea? Nope. Okay. Jeffrey, any messages, anything you want to say, Goff?
No, nothing. Very good. Thank you.
Right, good. Okay. Let's have questions from you guys in Lantwick Major. I've asked to unmute. Andrea, anything you want to say quick?
No, thank you.
Good. Are we seeing you next week?
I should be back in Lantwick next week.
Oh, okay. And Steve, I will send you those details about Wednesday. We'll be starting a week Wednesday, so I'll get that over to you. Anything else from anyone else in Lantwick? We'll start with Steve if he wants to say anything.
Thank you very much, Carl. Very enjoyable. Nothing else from me. Thank you.
Okay. What about something from Jim that's not stupid?
I've lost the words.
I've got a question, Carl. Have they been able to work out the Etruscan language to translate what writings they found that were left by them?
I think the point is that we're able to translate most of it, right? But we're not able to vocalize and to be able to pronounce what the individual words meant. And it's going to be eventually going to go down that avenue. But I think what we need to do is tenderly look and maybe understand the language is less complicated than it's made out to be. And this is my thoughts. It might be a lot more straightforward. Sometimes we over egg things in history and archaeology, and maybe we need to maybe it's a lot more simplified as a form of language, a form of written language, than the historians and archaeologists make out. I think the point is that we don't have enough to complete the story. Whereas in ancient Egypt, you got shed loads of stuff. We're still putting everything together with the Etruscan world, and as the language developed in the Etruscan world, obviously things have changed. So we need to be able to date periods when the language is evolving to be able to understand it. And I think that's going to be the next stage. And when we've done that, we can then start to understand what everything means, and then maybe vocalize the language as well. I think the obvious thing as well is if lots of people in Tuscany are still descended from the Etruscan, it does make sense to say that maybe some of the ways the people actually pronounce the Latin language of Italian still today could actually be seen in the original language of the Etruscans in the first place. Right. So anybody else wants to say anything? Kathy, any of the Chris's, Arnold, Lynn, and Keith?
No, nothing more. I don't think. No, pretty good.
Oh, thanks for that. I'm glad you said it's very good. So in other words, right, because you said it's very good, it's not that good, because you always used to say good lectures were rubbish. And oh, right, thanks, Keith. I really appreciate that. Right. So what I'm going to say, thanks for looking after Jessica. She'll be back with you next week. And it's great to have seen some of you today, and yes, and thanks for your continued support, everybody. And if I don't see you before Christmas, have a great meal, and that's it really. So nobody wants to say anything else. I'm going to say goodbye to Karen, Arnold, Lynn, Chris, Jim, Keith, Kathy, Steve, and Andrea and Goff. Take care, boys, girls.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye-bye. And Dennis says hello as well. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Good. Yeah, see you. They're not going. Do you know what? I come across somebody the other day who'd been looking out for Dennis for the past few months. And he said, "Where's Dennis?" And I said, "Didn't you know?" Anyway, look, guys, I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye, Andrea. Bye. See you. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Are we so rare masters?
I can still see you all. Hey, Lynn, you're looking pretty sexy there, Lynn.
Thank you, Carl.
Hey, the blue coat suits you. Oh, well, Lynn, you always look sexy. It goes without saying. Hey, I like your colourful top, Karen. And as for you, Chris, it goes without saying every time.
Is he still wittering on?
I'm still wittering on. Nobody's taking me off. I'll be here all day. I'll see you next week then. I'll still be here. Oh, God. All right, then. I will kick you off and I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye-bye. 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 He's a very naughty boy. Bye. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra, everyone.
Ta. I may as well stay here because nobody's turning off.
It's still talking to us.
He's a very naughty boy. Hey, Arnold, you look good. Magic moments, la 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 la. La 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 la. Magic moment. I can be annoying when I want to be. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Get out of it.
La 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 la. Yeah, I gotta feed. Yeah, I do have to feed the goats. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff the turkey.
We will meet on Wednesday for 8 weeks. Is Stephen still there?
Yeah.
Oh, you're still there. I'm just double checking your email address. You don't have to. It's It ends 29, does it?
It's what?
Your email address ends. I tell you what, I'll stop the recording on this a minute so we don't have the world. Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3. Hang on, I'll stop this a minute.